When the original Spider-Man released for the PS4 back in 2018, it quickly cemented its position as the best gaming incarnation of the titular superhuman arachnid, and made a strong case for being one of the best superhero titles released to date. The standalone DLC, Miles Morales, was essentially the same game with a shorter running time and less compelling story. The full-fledged sequel has now arrived to challenge its progenitor's credentials, but does its PS5 and PC exclusivity help to push it even higher? If you've played either of the previous two titles, there's surprisingly little that's genuinely new here. You can now switch, largely at will, between Peter and Miles, although quite a few of the story and side missions require a specific character or, for some reason, Mary Jane, who somehow become a stealth ninja crack marksman. Fortunately, both of the leads play excellently and bring with them a few unique skills and abilities. As with the originals, both are once again voiced superbly by their respective voice actors. Suit powers have been separated out from the suits themselves, which means you're not limited to specific costumes if you want to, for example, boost your stealth capabilities whilst looking like a flamboyant luchador. All of the skills, abilities and so forth are handled via several upgrade trees, which frankly feel a little excessive. It's also a case of spot the difference when it comes to the combat, although both Miles and Peter have a few unique fighting abilities that weren't present previously. As you'll no doubt already be aware, the involvement of Venom increases this range further, later in the game. Indeed, there's one brutal scene later on in the story involving everybody's favourite symbiote utterly letting rip, which feels like the Marvel equivalent of Call of Duty's No Russian. Stealth remains as enjoyable as before, but with the added bonus of being able to create your own zip lines above your enemies' heads. This opens up an exponentially higher number of attack vectors if silently picking off your hapless foes is your preferred method of dispensing justice, but the game still frequently forces you into direct combat. If you enjoyed the story from the first instalment, prepare to be disappointed here. Kraven starts out as the big bad, only to be usurped later on by the symbiote. Although there are appearances from several other villains, all of their stories feel secondary to Venom's arc. The resolution to Kraven's story is especially anticlimactic, considering how he and his henchmen are positioned as the principal villains for at least 75% of the game. The side missions somehow manage to come off even worse, with only a few interesting storylines nestled amongst some truly baffling narrative decisions. For example, there's an entire subplot that involves Miles carrying out the most banal favours as Spidey for his academy classmates, such as rescuing the school mascot from some pranksters and helping a nerdy schoolboy get a date with another guy. Considering everything else that's going on in the city, helping VJ get a BJ doesn't really feel like it should be a superhero's immediate priority. There's also a teeth-gratingly toe-curling side mission where you have to chase down a vandal/graffiti artist as deaf love interest Hayley, only to stand there gushing about how talented she is when you catch her, prepared to be picking vomit off your controller after you've sat through that one. The game itself looks pretty reasonable, and certainly runs well in performance mode on the PS5, but what is supposed to be New York always feels strangely empty. Despite covering more ground than before, the game world never feels particularly large either. The voice acting is variable beyond the leads, but the sound design on the whole is generally solid. The key to whether or not you'll enjoy Spider-Man 2 lies in whether you want more of the same, which is essentially what this is. It's a pity the story isn't as good, but the action is still entertaining and the running time is lean enough to not outstay its welcome. It's certainly more enjoyable and better paced than God of War Ragnarok, but better writing coupled with the same superb gameplay on offer here would make the inevitable Spider-Man 3 a truly prestige title. So, summarising the game's good points, it looks nice, action and traversal feels streamlined, highly enjoyable stealth, excellent performances from Pete and Miles' voice actors, and it doesn't outstay its welcome. As for the downsides, well, there's a less compelling story, extremely variable side mission quality, New York always feels strangely empty, and the game is still buggy months after release. Overall, we're giving it 80%, which on our review scale is very good.